Recording in progress.
Ooh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, it is a pleasure to be here, and I'm so glad you guys came out on a Friday afternoon. So hopefully, if you have questions, just feel free. It's very loose, you know. Yeah. So I just wanted to introduce Anka over here. First of all, she lives here, number one. And she's also one of our planning members of the Plant-Based Cape Cod Green Nosh, so our local meetup group. So we've got lots of things we're planning up, and we're meeting January 27th. It's a Friday. Literally, I'll be leaving here and going right to there. It'll be next weekend that we're meeting, and we do a potluck, and the theme for our potluck is protein, and we're looking at tofu or protein products like that, tempeh, edamame, things like that. So, and we're going to be talking about all the upcoming things. So, alrighty, and I'm just going to hide that thumbnail. Yeah. All right. So, this is not my computer. So, alrighty, I can't see my. Let me move that over here. 1 second. This is one of the things I don't like about using somebody else's computer. Like, alrighty. Okay. There we go. All right. So what is a whole food plant-based? So I'm glad you guys asked. You guys are great. So first, before I begin and talk about what it is, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out to you that if you are planning or thinking about changing your diet, you need to inform your doctor, okay? Especially if you're dealing with type 2 diabetes or diabetes in particular, or hypertension, because the reason why is this is so powerful. And this is actually a scene from the movie, From Food to Freedom, which is coming out, which is the movie we're going to be hosting in May. And in this movie, they literally took 6 people, type 2 diabetics, on insulin, some of them for many, many years. And in 10 days, got almost all of them off their medications. In 10 days. That's the power of this diet. Okay. So I just want to say a whole food plant-based can cause tremendous healing. Like literally, I'm not kidding. In 10 days, your blood chemistry will change, and dramatically at that. So if you're on medication and your medication is not adjusted, then that could cause some problems. So I just want to be real clear before we even begin, you know, but here's the biggest problem. Most doctors are not trained in nutrition. They get almost no training in nutrition at all. And if they do get training in nutrition, it's like, yeah, what not, you know, diseases of like scurvy. When's the last time you saw a case of scurvy, right? I think we got that one down, but they still teach them about scurvy, you know. So today the material presented is just for informational, educational purposes. It's not for medical advice, okay? I just need to clarify that. So, all right. And truth, if you do not take time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. If you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. Read that again. Seriously. And for anybody who is ill and dealing with pains or problems, this is one of the biggest, most powerful things that your health is worth working for, okay? So what is it? Well, so we're looking at foods that are basically whole in nature, unrefined or minimally refined plants. Minimally is like pasta, okay? Pasta is something that is minimally refined. So things like that. Starches, oh, you mean I can eat starch? Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we do need to eat. If you look at macronutrients, there's 3 of them. There's carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Proteins and fats we need very, very little. But carbohydrates is what the fuel is for predominantly for our body. And if you're limiting like in the keto or the what's the other one? Keto and
Paleo.
Atkins. Yeah. If you're limiting your carbs, you're doing yourself a huge disservice and causing long-term damage to yourself. People don't realize that when they're in this diet, okay? And it will change you. Don't get me wrong. You will lose weight. You will have, you'll see changes in your blood work, but long-term, you're going to be causing damage to your body. So we're eating starches, legumes as well. So it's foods that you already know. It's foods that you already connect with. Because grandma was right, let me see. Somehow we just, again, I apologize. I'm not using my own computer. So we have just jumped like late years. Not sure why, but okay, we'll try it again. So let's talk about what it's not. So when I win lotto, that is my car. It's a 69. My brother will argue with me. Why do you want a 69? Once you get it to 57, the 57 is much better. You know how they are, sibling rivalry. I don't care. This is my car. I adore it. Kerosene, fantastic fuel. Fantastic. Runs jets. But if you put kerosene in that car, it'll be a sad day because you're going to kill that engine. And our body is kind of like that. We're putting in the wrong fuel into our body and expecting it to run well. And when we get sick or have health problems, we blame it on genetics. My grandmother had this, my grandfather had this, my aunt has it, my cousin has it, I'm going to get it, whatever it is, X, Y, Z. And in fact, your genes, 95% of your genes can be turned on and off. 5% of your genes determine like your hair color, your skin color, your eye color. We can't change those yet. It won't be long before they do, but okay, fine. We're not there yet, and I'm grateful we're not, because wow, that's going to be a whole nother world. But the other 95% are like those light switches over there on the wall. I can go over and turn them on, and I can turn them off. And they've shown that this is happening. Even if, like, for example, for breast cancer, you have the BRCA gene, that doesn't mean you're going to get cancer. It just means that your family, your gene pool, has a higher percentage of getting it, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean you will get it. And it will depend upon what you do in the food and fuel that you put into your body, whether it's going to turn it on or off. And if you've not read the book, it's someplace in here, maybe. It's called The China Study. Is anybody, oh, there it is. Thank you. If you've not read that book, it's a very powerful book by T. Colin Campbell. And he's done a lot of research. Thank you very much. He's done a lot of research on this, and he's shown that this is just such a powerful. So I can't say enough about this book. It's just incredible. Yeah.
I read that, and I couldn't put it down. I mean, usually I don't read a lot of nutrition books, but it is really interesting, and it makes so much sense when you read it. It's just amazing.
Well, I mean, it's the largest population study that's ever conducted on the planet, and it was done in China, obviously the China study, but they focused on in depth on people all over from China. And the thing is, they're all Chinese. This was back done like in the 70s, the data was collected back in then. So it wasn't like there was a lot of mixed, racial marriages. They're all Chinese. So genetically, we're dealing with the same population, more or less, But anyway, so what it's not is we're not supposed to be eating meat, fish, dairy, eggs, highly processed foods. And that's when you start to see these like TV dinners and stuff like that. They're very processed, okay? So that's not really what we're supposed to be eating. Refined sugars, okay, and oils. What about my virgin olive oil, extra virgin? I really don't care if it's pressed by virgins on the 7th solstice of the 7th month. No oil. Oh, but my doctor said it was heart healthy. Well, your doctor's not up to date on the research, okay? And we're going to talk about that down the road. So, yes, but this is what it's not, okay? And what it is actually foods like up in the upper left-hand corner, those are Oh my God, so good. Those are corn black bean pancakes. Oh, to die for. Basically vegan burgers or veggie burgers. That pizza right there, I could dive into that bad boy right now. Delicious. Oats, starting your day out with some good oats, steel cut oats, even better. Soups, I adore soups, especially this time of the year in winter when it's just cold and bitter and raw out, and soups are just so comforting. And right there is some carrot cake. Okay, so this is not about deprivation. This is about learning how to change what's at the end of your fork. Because most people are like, so what do you eat? Like grass clippings, tree bark? No. I'm way too much of a foodie for that in any way, shape, or form. And if you go on my website, Simply Plant Based, there are, under recipes, simplyplantbased.net, there's recipes that are cooking videos to teach you how to cook this way. Okay, because there is a little bit of a learning curve. I mean, even though if you know how to cook, it's learning how to cook without oil, and how to be able to make things not stick into the pan without the oil. So much easier than I thought it would. Right? Right. Years, like everything, first thing I always did, like put olive oil. Let's go. Just water and vegetable stock. It works just fine. Right. Don't miss it at all. Right. That was a lot easier than I thought. It's true. Yeah. It's so true. So anyway, but it's foods that you already know and recognize. This is not some magic pill that is, I'm not promoting. I don't sell supplements. I don't know. I teach you how to eat, and I teach you how to eat right. Okay. So people think, they call me vegan, and I don't like that word, because vegan just means that you're not eating animal products, which is true for whole food plant-based. You're not eating animal products. So there we agree. But I think, like Oreo cookies, Coca-Cola, potato chips, those are all vegan. Those are all vegan. I think we can all agree at this table that's not going to be something healthy for you, okay, on any level, especially the sodas. Oh my gosh, that's a whole other conversation, whole other lecture. Anyway, but that's the difference, is you're eating foods as close to they are in nature, and that's what you're looking for, okay? So that's the big difference, and I do say, like, if I'm going out to a restaurant, I'm vegan, but I'm allergic to salt and oil. And so what can you do for me? And by the way, in our Green Nosh Plant-Based Cape Cod, we are on a restaurant campaign to try and get restaurants on board. So to provide food, because I really hate going and begging for them to prepare food that's not going to hurt me in terms of my health. Okay. So we are on a very active, we're starting that on January 27th. So that's what is whole food plant-based living. So now let's talk about the myth of healthy oils, because it is a myth. There is no healthy oils. I don't care what kind of oil it is. There is no healthy oil, period. End of story. So it takes about 7.5 pounds of olives to only make 500 milliliters of oil. You are taking the best part of the olive and throwing it away, and taking the worst part and concentrating it, okay? It is not going to help you. And here's one of the biggest problems is our stomach does not understand oil. It doesn't have receptors in our stomach to understand. And I used to go to, with my daughter, we'd go to this restaurant and they'd bring out this dish. I don't know if you've been to these Italian restaurants, and it's olive oil, and it's got the onions and garlic and the peppers, all in this infused. And then they bring out this crusty bread that becomes a vehicle to just sop up this oil. And literally, you can easily down 600-800 calories in your stomach. And your stomach has no clue that you've just eaten a third of the amount that you should be eating for the entire day. And then you go on to have a big meal after that, right? So your stomach doesn't understand oil. And it takes literally 10 to 12 hours to emulsify that oil. And it's going to sludge your blood. They did what's called a brachial arm tourniquet test. That's basically where they put a the blood pressure cuff, and they pump it up so high that blood stops flowing. And then they release it, and then they do an ultrasound on your arm to see how your arteries fill back up. Okay. So then they tested that just to get a baseline. Then they gave a person something with high in fat or oil, and then did it and released it, and it sludges your blood about 60%. And I saw this with my son, he was in wrestling, and he was good in wrestling. I give him that without question. But also we were starting plant-based diet when he was starting this, and I would see this with his competitors. And if you've ever had the joy and pleasure of being at one of these marathon tournaments, okay, that go on, we were there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and there are some tournaments I didn't leave till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Okay. So they go on forever, and you're bored out of your mind because all you're doing is sitting there until your son wrestles. And then, but one thing that was clear throughout the entire tournament was the pizza has arrived. Come get hot pizza. And the kids would be like, and go and eat this pizza. And one of the things that I would see, and my son never did this, because as you're getting towards the end of the day, first of all, you're tired, because you've been wrestling all day, but now you're wrestling against kids that are at your level. So 1 and 2 are wrestling, 3 and 4 are wrestling, and 5 and 6 are wrestling. You weeded out all the other, okay? So you're with somebody who's at your level now. And one of the tricks in the ring is to get out of the ring. Because once you get out of the ring, then that gives you 10 or 15 seconds to reset to catch your breath. Because your chests are just heaving at this point. I mean, breathing so hard because it's so aerobic. And they're not being able to get oxygen to their muscles because their blood has been sludged. I mean, that bad. And I kept saying to my son, yeah, go off and tell your competitors, you'll buy them pizza, because it would be an edge for sure, without question, Anyway, but they would be doing that. And I would not, first of all, give my son money to go do that, to go eat that crap. And, I bring a cooler with food in it. And as soon as he wrestled, he went and got and fueled up and carb loaded to prepare him for the next round. And one of the things I would see the kids do, their chest would be just heaving, and they would do this. They would put their arms, no coach ever said, put your arms over your head. They just do it intrinsically to try and stretch their lungs just that little bit more so they can get one more molecule of oxygen into their lungs. And I never saw my son do that. And I never saw his chest heaving like his competitors. I never saw that because his blood was able to carry the oxygen and carry away the wastes. So, all right. So here's, without the oil, like if you have oil, 500 calories of oil literally is going to not even fill your stomach, like just a little bit. 500 calories of processed and fatty foods is going to fill it up halfway. And your body's going to be sitting there going, I need more, because you're not giving it the right nutrients it needs. So it's going to send up more signals to your brain that I'm still hungry, even though you just eaten 500 calories. Your brain still says, I need more. So it's going to send more signals to you to eat more, okay? 500 calories of whole food plant-based, and you're going to be like, I'm good. I can't eat anymore, right? Because it takes time to learn how to eat this way, because you're just like, I can't eat anymore. I'm so full, which is one of the reasons why I almost always lose weight on this when you switch over to this lifestyle. It's natural. There's nothing. We don't count calories. We don't count points. We don't count carbs, nothing. I eat, and I have the freedom to eat. And that's what I love about this lifestyle. So let me just show you this video. Check this out. This is going to blow you away, right? So this is blood flow that's normal before a meal, okay? So here after the fact, once you have oil or fats into your bloodstream, watch how it slows it down almost to the point where it can't even move, okay? And it causes your red blood cells to become so sticky that they stick together and they can't get through easily, okay? So it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So I just wanted to show you that's what oil does to your body. And it takes 10 to 12 hours for it to emulsify or break down. So it's not a good thing. It's not heart healthy in any way, shape, or form. It's 100% fat. And I do a whole class on label reading. And my favorite is Pam. you know, the spray pan thing. Okay, on there, they advertise it. It will say fat-free. Right? How can you take something that is 100% fat and say it is fat-free? Because it's all smoke and mirrors, right? It's all smoke and mirrors. And so the reason they do that is because they change the serving size. Next time you're in the grocery store, pick up a can of Pam and turn around and look at the serving size. It's a quarter of a second. 1/4. Is that even humanly possible? Like, I remember back in the day when I had the Pam, I'd be like, shh, 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 you know. You just coat the pan with that. And they can say now it's fat-free. Okay. Smoke and mirrors. They're just playing with us. So why eat this way? First of all, you can lose weight without dieting, without question. Most of the major health issues are food-borne, or food, a result of our food that we're eating. Dis-ease. Dis comes from Latin meaning against being at ease with your body. That's where the word disease comes from. Okay. But best of all, oh my gosh, the food is so good. It's so delicious. I'm not going to lie. It is really good. So people that have heart disease, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, the book right there, that's Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. That's the cookbook from the program. He was showing already that people could reverse heart disease. 100%. 100%. Without surgery, without drugs, just by changing what's at the end of your fork. And he's already shown this. One of his peers was a surgeon. And it was interesting. Let me back up for a second. He was, you know, like the movie or show MASH, right? Well, he was a surgeon, but not Korean War. He was Vietnam. And he was there kind of in a MASH role kind of thing, doing surgery. He never knew who he was operating on. I got the opportunity to spend some quality time talking with him. He's just amazing. Anyway, he said, I knew, because first of all, he would never know who he's operating on because they'd be draped and, you know, he would be going from one patient to another, not knowing who or what, or see them coming in, whatever. He said, I knew as soon as I cut into them, if they were American or Vietnamese, was already at 18, 20, 22 years of age, which is the kids coming into Vietnam, they already had heart disease. Their arteries were already clogged and building up. So these kids were already building up for their heart attack, you know, down the road. The Vietnamese, arteries, clean as a whistle. Vietnamese eat primarily a plant-based diet. Fast forward, he's one of his peers he works at the Cleveland Clinic, Cleveland Hospital, and he had just finished surgery. He was in his office writing up notes, and he had a heart attack. Now, this is somebody who was in his 40s, just had perfect blood work, perfect. Everything is pristine. He's a runner. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. You would think the last person on this planet to have a heart attack, and he did, okay? They were able to help him, but they did the catheter going up into the arteries, and they found it was the widowmaker, that artery coming down, but they really couldn't do surgery on it. And so he was very depressed after they found this out, because he's like, I'm not someone who should be having a heart attack. So Dr. Esselstyn went in and talked to him and said, look, it's the food. And he's like, well, I eat a healthy diet, you know, and most people think I eat a healthy diet. Well, what does that mean? It's foods that are causing irritation, which is primarily dairy, okay? And then add the meat to that. It's causing inflammation left and right, which inflames the body, and it causes all kinds of problems. Anyway, make a long story short, he went plant-based, and they repeated the same test, you know, after he had gone plant-based. The artery was open now. Went from being completely blocked and had a heart attack to now this artery is completely open, okay? So he showed, and that's just one example. He's done this many, many, many times with quite a few people. So heart disease, multiple sclerosis. My husband back there, that's my husband. Anyway, he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and he has no symptoms, none.
How long does it take to
to reverse? I think a lot of it depends upon how serious, at what point you're changing this. But if you go into the multiple sclerosis website, they teach you how to live with MS. Well, we didn't want to live with MS. And Dr. Roy Swank has been doing this and reversing this. And you don't see any of his work on the MS website in any way, shape, or form. They don't talk about nutrition, and they actually promote foods that will exacerbate your MS. Okay? It is terrible. It is because the MS drugs they're ridiculously expensive. I think my husband was looking at $60,000 when he was first diagnosed. They gave him. Go ahead, you tell it.
Well, the drug I was first diagnosed. I was diagnosed in 1991. I was 34. A fairly mild case, but it's okay. It's MS, right? Because it's more prevalent than I feel heavier than I am now. Also, anyway, I went through a second heavy diagnostic in 1995. All MRIs, all this stuff, and on Friday went to see the doctor. Looked at all the tests. Said, "Okay, I'm going to put you on infusion, something called tisapride." Literally, that following Monday, it was taken off the market because the side effect was that it was killing me. Pretty messy side effect. And I just walked away and I said, "There's got to be a different way to do this." I think also some of the drugs I was looking at early on were like 10 or 20 grand a year, and and then in 10 or 15 years are 4x that. I try to stay away from that. This seems to be working pretty well for me. I'm reasonably healthy. I was working 60 hours a week until 64 in a data center north of New York City, where I hadn't had a sick day in 5 years. I had, all my peers that were 30, 40, they would get sick once a month. Whatever, just normal stuff, catch the flu, whatever. I haven't had any issues with COVID. I have had the shots, I haven't had any issues with COVID. I never get the flu. Why is that? I'm not some 6'5" special forces guy. I'm 5'7", 150 pounds. Anyway, I think
so. MS.
This makes sense.
Yeah, MS. You can reverse it, and they've already shown that on many things, many ways. Dr. McDougall, John McDougall, that was one of his major studies, was helping people with in reversing MS. Type 2 diabetes. That's what this movie is about, From Food to Freedom, that we're going to be showcasing in Ennis in May. And we haven't determined a date yet. We're still working on that. So they took 6 people with type 2 diabetes, and in 10 days, all of them got off their medications, or they were like ridiculously reduced. So insane how in 10 days. And if you're not familiar with Eric Adams, he's the now mayor of New York City. And his mom, he woke up half blind, blind in one eye, half blind in the other eye, and he had really bad acid reflux. He was literally eating holes in his esophagus. He had such bad neuropathy. He was getting to the point he couldn't walk. And then he woke up, almost blind. And he's like, "Oh my God, this is," he went to Dr. Google and, learned about plant-based living and switched. That was it. And if you look at him today, he looks like a rock star. I mean, he's like amazing. His mother, who was in her 80s, had been type 2 diabetic since her 50s and was on insulin for over 30 years. She went plant-based, and in under 4 months was off all of her medications after 30 years. So there's hope. There is hope. And that's what this movie talks about. That there is hope, that we can take control of our health destiny on so many different levels. High blood pressure. I'm on Facebook a lot, and I run a Facebook group. It's got about 12,000 people in it, all dealing with high blood pressure. And all it is people asking about the side effects of this medication and how to deal with it. And it's like, no one is looking at what is causing the high blood pressure. You have to get to the root cause, because no medication, none, zero. There is no medication on this planet that will heal what the reason is for high blood pressure or any other health issues. It will help you navigate or deal with it, but it's not going to heal it. This will heal a lot of these things. So osteoporosis, one of the biggest things is losing your bone structure, your bone density. And one of the whole reasons is, like, for example, dairy will give you calcium, but on the other hand, you're going to spend so much, because it's so acidic in your body, that you have to alkalize that before it can get into your system. So you will take calcium out of your bones to alkalize the dairy that's supposed to be giving you calcium. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Arthritis, most arthritis is caused by inflammation, and that is immediately reduced once you start going plant-based. Immediately. The inflammation dials right down when you're not using or eating foods that are going to cause inflammatory issues. Acne, oh my gosh. I've been a high school teacher I'm going on 4 decades now. I'm still teaching full-time, and I teach virtually now. But when I was in the classroom, I had one of my students, his face was so bad. I've never seen a case of acne so bad on somebody so young. Oh my gosh. And he would come in, and when the kids weren't supposed to wear hats or hoods in the class, but he would come in with a hoodie, and he had this hoodie that it was the longest hoodie I've ever seen. I'm sure he looked for it because he could like hide his face. And I understood why. I didn't have the heart to say, take your hood off in class. I just didn't. But I did catch him, and we talked about diet, and he changed. And guess what? Ta-da! It's like, and he could tell, like if he deviated, that immediately his face would break out. Immediately. And I'm like, it's keeping you honest. So he's like, yeah, but I know, but I like the food. I'm like, yeah, I know. Because it's messing with you. It's called the pleasure trap. That's a whole nother thing. For you gentlemen over here, keeping this a PG-13, we'll just use the analogy that your flag, if your flag is not rising, there's a reason for that. That's the first sign of heart disease. Okay, it's one of the first symptoms. So if that's not rising, there's a reason. Okay, there's this phrase called the canary in the coal mine. Do you know why they used to carry a canary, or where that phrase came?
Yeah, well, because it could smell the methane before the miners got down there. If they died, they knew that there were gases.
If that bird dropped dead, because a lot of the stuff coming out of the mine was odorless, colorless, tasteless, you couldn't see it, you couldn't smell it, you didn't know it was there. So if that bird dropped dead, you were like, get out, get up now. So this is like the canary in the coal mine for men. Okay, for women, I hate to break the news, we don't really have that. We just drop dead, and we usually die. And that's heart disease is big. It's the leading cause of death for women in the country. So we just don't have any symptoms. For men, you do, because if blood can't flow there, it's having trouble flowing other places in the body. And that's usually one of the things that once you clean out your arteries. Yeah, and my husband, you want to talk to him about that? He'll be glad to talk to you about that. He's very proud to talk about that, that he does not need that little blue pill. He's very proud of that. So anyway, but that's another reason, especially for the men. Okay. So, all right. So calcium. Oh my God, if I'm not eating dairy, where am I going to get my calcium from? Let's stop and think about, where does the animals get the calcium from? And calcium is a mineral. It comes from the ground, and the animals eat that. It's absorbed into the roots. They eat the plants, and then they get the calcium from that. But cut out the middle moo, the middle animal here, and just go right to the plants. And that's one of the things that I have seen, especially, I got a scale, it's called a Tanita scale, and it's a multi-frequency scale, and it measures 11 different functions on my body. So in my opinion, data is king, right? The more facts you have about your body, the more that you learn about your body, the more you can help yourself. And so I started seeing, and I'd already been plant-based, and I was starting to see my bone density going down. And I was concerned. And so my doctor started me on a smoothie, and he's done several tests on the smoothie. And I've actually done videos with him. He took, in 7 days, this was the second test he did. He had 2 groups of people. One group of people was plant-based, like myself, and we introduced the smoothie. The other group was just people eating the SAD diet. That's the standard American diet. Okay, SAD for short. And they introduced the smoothie. They just kept eating like they normally did. And in 7 days, they did blood work before, and then after the 7th day, your C-reactive protein went down. That's the measure of inflammation in your body. It was like 45% that it had gone down just by adding the smoothie. That's it. And once I added the smoothie in, my bone density started going back up, and it's been topped off, and it's been staying high since I started the smoothie. And that's where I'm getting my calcium from, is leafy greens. Leafy greens are absolutely amazing in terms of calcium. So a couple other things that you need to know about calcium. There's two basic major factors in calcium. Or if you're drinking anything like sodas, anything with carbon dioxide, seltzer water, anything that's got bubbles in it, okay, that's going to be very, very acidic. So if you guys don't know, this is called the pH scale. I'm a chemistry teacher, okay, chemistry, environmental science, biology. So I apologize for diving into a little bit of chemistry today, but that's the pH scale. pH stands for potential for hydrogen ion. So that's kind of like, well, what's that got to do? Anyway, it's a long story in terms of acids and bases. Acids are basically like an H+ ion. Bases are an OH. That's one of there's 3 different definitions. Anyway, your blood has a pH of 7.35 to 7.4. It's that precise. And it has to stay that because there's a lot of chemical reactions that take place in your body that have to have that pH. If it's not right, if that pH is not there, and your body has many, many mechanisms to keep it that way, all right? If that, for whatever reason, if that changes, that's what dying is. You are going to be really, really sick if the pH changes, or you're dying. Because the inability of your body to be able to alkalize your body, that's what dying is, okay? So your blood, we can't really change that. But all of the things that coming into the body have to be alkalized to be able to get into the bloodstream. They have to be alkalized. So that soda that you're drinking, and I just want you to understand this pH scale, it's a logarithmic scale. So that means like if you're going from 7 is neutral, below 7 is acid, above 7 is alkaline, okay? And our bloodstream is slightly alkaline. And so if you go down like from 7 to 6, that's not a factor of 1, that's a power of 10, okay? You go 7 to 5, that's 100. That's 100 times more acidic than the body should handle. 7 to 4 is 1,000. 7 to 3 is 10,000. 7 to 2 is 100,000 times more acidic. Coca-Cola comes in at a pH of about 2.3. So you're talking about something that's like 60, 70,000 times more acidic than the body should handle, okay? Anything with bubbles in it is going to convert to what's called carbonic acid, and that has to be alkalized, okay? So how do we alkalize that? So glad you asked. You guys are great. Wonderful. So how do we alkalize it? You're going to take calcium from your bones. You'll take magnesium. Did you ever wake up in the middle of the night and have those Charlie horses that attack your legs? That's because you just sucked out all the magnesium to alkalize whatever you just ate not too long ago that your body's processing it, okay? Or sodium or potassium from your bloodstream. But you will alkalize that, but at a cost to yourself biologically, okay? So this is what we're doing is eating things that are very, very high in acids. All dairy, all animal products are extremely acidic to our body, okay? So it's not meant for what we're supposed to be eating. So anyway, and then add to that, we're eating diets high in sodium. There is a balance of sodium and potassium, and that's what helps for cells. You know, it's called cellular transport. It helps things to get into the cell and then helps things to get out of that cell. So we have to have this very delicate balance of sodium and potassium. And so if you look at how food is packaged in nature, it's the right balance. But we start adding so much sodium. Oh my gosh. Look at like the next time you look at something like a tomato sauce or whatever, look on the back how much sodium is in there. It's insane how much sodium is in that. Like 25%. A bagel is like 25% sodium. It's like insane. It's like insane how much sodium is in there. So that also has another factor, is how much sodium we're increasing. It's going to have an impact on our calcium levels. Okay. So if you look on the left side, that picture right there, I can't remember if I zoomed in on that or not. Nope. Let's back up for a second. So that picture on the left, that is what a normal bone looks like, the bone density of it. Our bones are a little bit spongy. They can handle a certain amount of stress and then they break, you know, if there's too much stress put on there. But this is what osteoporosis looks like on the right. That's what's happening to our bones, is we're leaching out the calcium to be able to alkalize the foods that we're eating. So grandma's, you know, when she fell, her hip didn't break because she fell. Her hip broke because it couldn't support the body. okay? Especially in the fall of an impact like that, it's so delicate. Look at how delicate it is. It just ruptures and completely, like Humpty Dumpty, okay? So this is one of the issues. This is two of the major factors, the amount of sodium that we have in our diet and how much things that we're consuming that are so acidic. Okay?
Sorry, did you say that magnesium is also used in alkalis?
Yeah. Okay. It's another one of the minerals that we pull out of our blood.
Not good to take now, magnesium.
So anytime you take a supplement, and we're going to talk about any kind of supplements or vitamins or whatever, anytime you take it, your body has to deal with it. Okay. So if there's a reason, great. But if there's a better way to do it, even better, to turn to food as medicine. And it's so true, because you can eliminate a lot of the health issues, acid reflux. I mean, just all kinds of digestive issues gone, like within a couple of days. Like you're just like mind blown. Was that, were you at the one where the woman was saying, because I've been doing these classes at different libraries around the area. So it was in Cotuit, right? I think this woman said she got gone to the first lecture, and then she came back for the second lecture. They were a week apart, right? And she came back, she says, I've been eating, I've been on medication for years for acid reflux. She says, this is the first time that I've not had acid reflux. She said, it was like within 2 days of making the foods that you recommended. I'm like, I know, it's so powerful. But she was just blown away by it. She's like, my doctor never ever said anything about this. Not once, not once, because they don't understand this. They don't know. So the formula for very strong bones, you've got to have a high level of vitamin D. And actually, vitamin D is not really a vitamin. It's a hormone we make from in our body ourselves. We do it by in the sun. But being in New England in the winter, what could possibly go wrong? We're not getting the sun that we need to get. So that is one thing you do need to get supplementation is for, just X that out. So you need to get vitamin D to help in relationship. There's a synergy between calcium and vitamin D. So you've got to have both of those for them to be able to get strong bones. You got to have high levels of vitamin D. Most of us, and you can tell by blood work through your doctor, you can go and have blood work done, and they can tell you what your levels of vitamin D are. I'll tell you right now, if you are not supplementing, you're going to be low and deficient in vitamin D if you live in New England. It's just that simple. The darker the color of your skin, the more time you're going to need in the sun or more vitamin D that you're going to need. So anyway, so you need to have a perfect level of vitamin D to balance your calcium because it's a key factor in how calcium is absorbed into the body with using vitamin D. The other thing is you've got to practice strength training. I don't mean you have to go to the gym and, bench press 400 pounds a day. You can take those cans of soup that you're not going to be eating anymore, and you can use those as weights as you're going down the road. Okay. So it doesn't have to be fancy. Yoga puts a lot of stress on your bones as well, because you're in these, positions. That's what I'm talking about. You got to move. You got to move. You got to get up. You got to move. Our bodies were designed to move. So you've got to move. So, all right. Protein, because people, this is one of the biggest questions I always get asked, because I'm going to curl up and die in the corner because I'm not going to have enough protein. First of all, let me ask you this question. Does anybody in here even know anybody who's protein deficient? Do you know anybody who's protein deficient? You do not. Does anybody even know the name of the disease of lack of protein? Anybody? Without Googling it? Kwashiorkor. The only place you're going to find anybody on this planet with kwashiorkor is people like in sub-Saharan Africa, children that are not getting enough calories in their diet. Because as long as you're getting as long as you're not getting enough calories in your diet, 100% you're going to be getting enough protein. 100%. It's insane. And it's become a very big marketing issue. Things would sell because, oh my God, protein, and that was the first question. And I get this question all the time. Where do you get your protein? Well, look at some of the biggest animals on this planet, gorillas, okay? I would say they're pretty strong animals. They're 100% herbivores, 100%, 100%. Nobody's asking them where they get their protein, okay? They're doing just fine with just eating plants. The biggest animals on the planet just eat plants, okay? Elephants, rhinos, they're plant eaters. So we've been taught that only we can get quality protein from animals. That is just so wrong on so many levels, okay? On so many levels. There was also this thing about complete protein and incomplete protein. That was, this one woman wrote this article and she apologized for it because it still persists today. That you just eat beans, but you gotta have beans and rice because they're together, they're complete protein. That's a whole, she apologized for that, but the damage was done. And that myth still perpetuates till today. When is the time of your life that you need the most protein of your entire life, from birth to death? When do you need it? Yeah, as a child, as a baby, and you're consuming breast milk. Breast milk is only 5 to 6% protein. That's it. 5 to 6%. That's it. And that is feeding a growing baby that's doubling in size, right? Almost every couple months, as they're, especially in the infant stage. So we've been told pretty much since World War II, 2 chickens in every pot and, whatever. They've been pushing animal protein on us, like to beat the band. And in reality, first of all, we don't store protein. So if you're consuming too much protein, and if you're eating animal products, you're consuming way too much protein. If you're consuming too much protein, what's going to happen to it?
Get rid of it.
How do you get rid of it?
Urinating.
Yep. Well, through urine. You're going to get rid of it through your urine. Okay. So next time, and I'm going to deviate for one quick second, on a field trip, next time when you go out, go into your local CVS or Rite Aid or Walgreens or whatever it is, go in there and look. There's an aisle that has grown. Used to be this one little section. It's a whole aisle now. You know what I'm talking about?
Protein powders.
Well, that's true too. But a big hint. What is that? Thank you. That is an adult diaper. It's a whole aisle now. Whole aisle. Why is that? Because we've been stressing our kidneys out for so long. Incontinence is not normal. Okay. Incontinence is, if you look at what's called the blue zones around the world, you don't know what the blue zones are. The blue zones are places where on this planet where people routinely live into their late 90s into 100, okay, over 100, without any issues, health issues, without any mental incapacity. They're still working and active right up until the day they die. They don't have incontinence. It's not normal. It's not a normal thing. And so, could that tie into too much protein because we're stressing out our kidneys? Think about that. So the World Health Organization recommends 0.9 kilograms per day. And that is at the extreme end of it. I mean, that's like way above and beyond what you really need to have. But that's what they recommend. So we're still backwards and we don't use the metric system. So to do that, you would take your weight and divide it by 2.2 pounds to convert it into kilograms. So if you look at somebody who's 135 pounds and divide it by 2.2, that's 61.4 kilograms. Multiply that by 0.9 and you get 55.3 grams of protein a day. So you don't need much. You really do not need much protein. And you can easily get it through a plant-based lifestyle, without question. So as long as you are consuming enough calories per day, then protein is a non-existent question or concern, okay? I just want to clear your mind from that right away. Okay, supplements, and there's the book, it's right there, whole. Okay. And that is written also by T. Colin Campbell, who I consider to be like one of the godfathers of nutrition and this whole movement. And he's actually going to be presenting at the National Health Association conference in June this year. So if anybody's interested, in my humble opinion, it's, first of all, the food is incredible. It's all whole food plant-based, and it's also salt, oil, sugar-free. Okay, that's to the next level of going plant-based. So salt, oil, sugar-free. And the food is incredible. And then after that is the people. The people keep coming back to the conference, and it's like you connect with your family. It's like you start to recognize people and you start to know them and become friends with them and connect with them outside of the conference. And then the presenters are presenting the actual cutting edge research, that's happening. But anyway, T. Colin Campbell is going to be presenting at this conference. He wrote that book Whole, and he talks about it, how we've been trained, and I remember as a child, my mother would make me take a multivitamin every day, in case I'm missing some nutrients to make sure, just to cover my bases. We're also this mindset, if a little bit's good, bring on the dump truck, beep, 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 beep. And, it's a lot, a lot is going to help you. I'm here to tell you no, okay, especially when it comes to vitamins. You're taking a multivitamin, you should not be, especially as we're aging on, because the vitamins, a lot of them have metals in them, like copper, iron, and zinc. But wait a minute, aren't those micronutrients? Yes, they are. And the key word here is micro, okay? And you'll easily get that from a plant-based food, the amount that you need. If you're consuming too much, that is going to be the foundation of Alzheimer's and dementia, because what happens is these metals are so reactive in our body. They're oxidative, okay? And they're looking to go around causing trouble in your body. So eating fruits and vegetables, they're going to be antioxidants for this, and they just literally mop up these what's called free radicals in our body. But these metals, what happens is in these metals per se, like you've got the zinc, copper. Zinc in particular is the worst, okay? Especially if you've been taking those zinc supplements to, like, you get a cold or something like that, and you're downing those zinc supplements. No, because again, these are fat. There's two types of chemicals: fat soluble and water soluble. This water soluble, you just pee it out. Okay, it goes through your liver, your kidneys, and you pee it out. But it is fat soluble, and guess what? It's going into your body, and your body doesn't like fats like that, or especially, your body doesn't like these metals. So it's going to do something to protect yourself. So what it does is it forms a coating around it of fat so that it doesn't react or interact with your body. Very much like an oyster, right? Well-fleet oysters. Think about those. Don't eat those, but no. But I think about them. When an oyster opens up and a piece of grain of sand gets in, it can't go and spit the piece of sand out. What it does is that it puts a coating around it, and every day it puts another coating around it so it doesn't irritate the oyster. So if you cut open a pearl, at the middle of the pearl, you're going to see a piece of grain or sand or something that was irritating the oyster. So that's what a pearl is. Well, we don't do pearls, we do fat. So we coat that with fat. And so that becomes now what's called beta amyloid plaques. These now become dumps in your body. And so this is where all these things come and dump, all right? And in your brain, if you're starting to get these beta amyloid plaques, in the beginning, you're like, so let's say my screen is the memory, right? And I'm trying to get to my screen, and I go up to my screen, and I can get that memory. Oh, what was the name? What was her name? Oh, Susie. Yep, I got the memory. But in the beginning, then you get these plaques. So you get to this memory, and you're like, what? I can't. What was her name? I can't remember that. And then it's like, oh yeah, and you go around it, the plaque, and you create a new neural path, and oh yeah, Susie. Okay, fine. And then you get such a wall of these things that you can't get the memory. And that's what Alzheimer's is. And we've got a huge, huge issue. One end we have Alzheimer's, the other end we have autism. I did my first TED talk on why we're seeing this in our children, because I saw this in the classroom without question. I mean, not just autism, but I was born in 1960. And I didn't see my first autistic child. Growing up in my neighborhoods, we knew every kid in the neighborhood, every kid in the school, you knew them. I didn't see an autistic child. Not one. Not one. I didn't see my first autistic child until I was into the 1990s. Now, according to the CDC, it's 1 out of 47. And it wasn't that long ago that it was 1 out of 58. I mean, like within like a couple of years ago. Why in our lifetimes are we seeing autism? That's huge on one end, and that costs so much in terms of society. They need a phenomenal amount of resources to be able to function because they can't function normal in society. Then at the other end, we have dementia dementia is a broad umbrella of this. Alzheimer's is like one of the spokes of dementia. But why are we seeing such an increase in dementia? It's because of the food. You don't just wake up the next day with dementia or with Alzheimer's, excuse me. You just don't wake up the next day with Alzheimer's. You've been building that up for a long time. Okay. So anyway, getting back to supplements, we're on supplements. You don't want to be taking extra supplements that you don't possibly need. The exceptions is B12. Everybody, it's for your brain, okay, and it's brain health, okay, and yeah. So you definitely want to make sure that you have it. And the problem is everybody should be supplementing now. Everybody, whether you're plant-based or not, everybody should be supplementing. Why? I'm so glad you asked. It's great. You don't want to be B12 comes from bacteria. Okay. Back in the day when the animals actually were in the pasture eating the grass as they're supposed to be, they would eat the grass and get some of the soil and get some of the B12 that way. Now, the animals are locked up their whole life. They don't eat grass as they should be. And they're eating foods they're not supposed to be eating. Like corn, cows are not supposed to be eating corn. They're not supposed to be eating that. Just saying, okay? So anyway, they're not getting the nutrients. So thank you for coming. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming. This will be recorded, so you can catch the rest of it. Anyway, so everybody should be taking B12. Even the animals now are deficient in B12 because they're locked up. They can't get the bacteria like they normally did back in the day. So they have to be supplemented as well. B12, we're all going to be deficient in it. There is a whole controversy. I shouldn't say controversy, but there's arguments about there's several different types of B12. There's methylcobalamin and there's cyanocobalamin. There's 2 different types of them. So there's arguments about both of them. But okay, I'm a chemistry teacher, and the bottom line is cyanocobalamin is in the cyanide family. Just saying, I'm good. I'll leave that one to you guys over there, and you guys eat that, take that one. So I use the methylcobalamin, okay, and I don't seem to have any problems with it. So B12 is probably the only exception I say. The other one is vitamin D. You can have a blood test and see where you are, and then normally you'll take like a mega dose of B12 or vitamin D to get your vitamin D up. And then after that, you need like 2,000 international units a day, okay, to maintain that, right? But take only what you need. So if you're taking things, well, Susie said that I should be taking some magnesium because it's going to help. Are you deficient? Well, I don't know. Well, the only way you're going to find out is blood work. Have some blood work done. Your blood work, try and do it quarterly. It's like your report card. Like how are you taking care of your body? And that's what your blood work is going to tell you that. So if you're deficient, then use supplements to get it up to your level, and then look to foods that are going to help you to get whatever that nutrient is that you can't. The only thing is B12. We cannot get that. We have to get it from a supplement. Okay. So there we are. But when you take things out of, and that's what this book is about, when you take these supplements out of context, they're not going to work the way they do. There's this huge synergistic effect that happens and works together between them. And it's absolutely brilliant in that. It's like Mother Nature planned it that way. And when you take like vitamin C out as a supplement, and you're not getting the fiber, you're not getting the nutrients, it's not able to slow down its absorption because of the fiber, you're losing all of that. So, all right. So that's supplements. So let me just talk about my journey. So this is my husband and I on our wedding day. So this is round 2 for both of us. We got married, 14 years ago?
08, 08, 09.
Thank you.
European, that would be 08, 08, 09. First one was in there.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So that's us. And that's me coming down the aisle in my dress. I was a size 26W. And I have since lost over 100 pounds and have kept it off. I've tried every diet known to mankind. Well, not everyone. I didn't do the tapeworm diet. There is such a thing where they actually put tapeworms in a sugar cube, and as a kid, I thought about this. As a kid, I was like, that's brilliant. The only part is when the tapeworm becomes so big that you have to have it surgically removed. Apart from that, I thought this is brilliant. I could still eat and not gain weight and lose weight. I thought that was brilliant. But anyway, I never did it. So
I was going to say it sounds awfully strange.
I thought so, but but think about it. I could eat all I wanted. And I've been on every diet. And Weight Watchers, those points, I thought that I was going to blow my brains out with the points, because all you're doing is looking for ways to cheat. That's all you're doing, is looking for ways to cheat. How can I bank my points so I can get that piece of cake? But you're still eating foods that are going to cause issues. All it is portion control.
But weight loss is all about health.
Right.
And not always the same.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So my journey started with a trip to the emergency room. And I had like over 105-degree fever. I'm like, I think it's time for me to go to the hospital. I'm not a hospital person. I have to be like on death's door for me to go to the hospital. I don't want to go, don't plan to go. That's for sick people. I'm not a sick person. Anyway, my blood pressure was about 250 over 150. I don't know why I didn't stroke out. And, I think that was his way of saying to me, I need your attention. Do I have your attention? Yes, sir. You have my attention. You have 100%. And the woman who came to treat me was not only a medical doctor, but she was a nutritionist, which is like, she's like her own demographic, because doctors just don't understand about food. And I was in for a week with such chills. I was never so sick in my life. They had to put mouth guard in my mouth because my teeth were chattering so bad that they thought I was going to break my teeth. I couldn't stop it. I could not stop it. And they piled blankets on me, and I couldn't get my body was not in balance. It was completely offline. They never figured out what it was. I really don't care, because I went to see this doctor after I got out of the hospital, because they kept just throwing drugs at me, drug after drug after drug after drug. They kept trying all these different things till finally, my own body, was able to come back and heal, whatever. So I went to see her as a nutritionist afterwards, and she started me on the book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. I read it one night, done. Next question. And that's what his whole premise is being able to reverse this heart disease. And it just made so much sense, and it clicked. And, and this has been my journey ever since. So I have not looked back. I have spent every waking moment, apart from my job, teaching, to understand and educate myself on this, and to help share this word and spread this message, because doctors are not going to tell you this. They are not going to tell you this. They might say, oh, you might want to eat healthy. What does that mean? They don't know, because they're not trained in nutrition. So
and there's so much new research that's come out since they did that medical training as well. Even if they had read it 30 years ago, there's new research coming out all the time.
Exactly. Kim Williams, who is the former president of the American Cardiology Association, he said there's either two types of cardiologists: the ones who've read the research and they're vegan, and the other ones who haven't. That's pretty much it. Because the evidence is clear. The evidence is crystal clear. Okay, it's out there. It's real. It's not made up. There's study after study after study done. So I just wanted to share with you some of my current programs. I have, if you go on simplyplantbased.net, you can go on that website. You can find out all of my programs. But I run the Plant-Based Academy because you're going to have a lot of questions, and you're going to need a support network when you go plant-based, because you're going to feel like you're the only person out there doing this, and people are going to be looking at you weird, like, what? You're not eating meat? Oh my God, where are you going to get your protein? And you're going to get these questions, and, it's going to cause a lot of problems, especially in your family. If you decide to change your diet and your spouse is not going to do that, or your children, you've got children, or whatever, whatever obstacles, you're going to have a lot of them. Plus, the other problems that you're going to deal with is, it's called the pleasure trap. And we're going to talk about that next week. Same time, same channel. Probably not the same room, but anyway. The pleasure trap really addicts you to these foods. And I'll be the first to go, hi, I'm Jeanne Schumacher, I'm a food addict. People think I have a lot of willpower. No, I don't. I just don't put myself into that ability or place that it's going to be, where I'm going to be eating those kinds of foods. I just don't put myself into those places. So anyway, so I started the Plant-Based Academy. Pregnancy Advantage, because a lot of women, I was seeing this in the classroom, the issues with children. And my co-partner, Dr. Deborah Shapiro, she's an OBGYN. She was seeing this with her patients and her, people that she was seeing who wanted to get pregnant. A lot of them are miscarrying. She actually diagnosed a woman who had such high mercury poisoning when she was eating fish. So if you're eating fish, most likely you're going to have high level of mercury. And mercury is a neurotoxin, huge problem. So anyway, she's the one that, she diagnosed that. She called it, and the fetus did have high levels of mercury as well. So we were seeing a lot of women who are having trouble conceiving, stage 4 endometriosis, PCOS, all these other, issues with women and their reproductive systems because of the food. We did a summit, and it's still there on the Pregnancy Advantage. You can still purchase it. We did a summit. One woman, 27 years of age, stage 4 endometriosis, stage 4. Okay. She literally, her mother wanted grandchildren. So her mother, and she couldn't get the surgery. They were going to do a full hysterectomy at 27. So she couldn't schedule it. They couldn't schedule it for like 6 weeks out. So the mother started her on basically a plant-based diet. And she got on the table to go under. She literally was on the table under anesthesia to have a full-blown hysterectomy. And the doctor went under to start, and he goes, he saw that her body was healing. He brought her out of anesthesia and said, what are you doing? And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, your body's healing. Your body's healing. He did not do the hysterectomy that day. I let her continue on. He goes, we're going to monitor this. I can't with all full conscience do a hysterectomy on you. Brains.
As well.
Exactly. 100%. She went on to have 3 children. So anyway, kitchen rescue, that's a fun one. I go to your house, literally, it's an all-day affair. I come to you and we clean out the kitchen. We learn how to read labels. We go shopping together. We come back and we cook, and we make enough food to clean out, to have food prepared. So I also have a YouTube channel. I've done probably about 300 or 400 videos by now. I don't remember the number. It keeps growing. But I interview some of the top people in the country. So you can go back through and look at some of the videos that I've done. They're just incredible. You can type in, the search bar, whatever topic you're looking, hypertension or diabetes or whatever. I'm sure you'll find a video on it. Sorry. So in the next class, today we did what is whole food plant-based. So next Friday and the Friday after that is going to be how to begin. And then the last one is tips and tricks and cooking hacks. And so because you're going to have questions, you're going to have, should I eat this, or what supplements, or what about oxalates? Is that a problem? Is that an issue? There's just a lot to learn, because you're basically redoing everything that you've learned in terms of nutrition. And I think about this for myself, for my children. I have a boy and a girl, and I raised them the way I was raised. We grew up, my parents, we had 5 children in my family. We had a big garden in the back, and, it was just my dad's salary. So, there was no extra things. There was no frills in our house. but basically we had meat. We started with a salad every night, and we had 2 vegetables and a meat, and that's how we were raised. And then, of course, candy. Oh my God. When I found out about candy and chips and stuff like that, that was it. Not that we had it in our house because my mother couldn't afford that, but anytime I got extra money, that was it. Right there, it hit me right dead on the pleasure trap. So anyway, so we're going to be talking about those. Those are the next upcoming classes. But I can't say this enough. Before you begin, you really need to be careful especially if you're dealing with type 2 diabetes or you're either type 1 or type 2 diabetes, or you're dealing with hypertension and you're on medications. I was up at one point up to 4 different medications for hypertension, and it wasn't dealing with it. So they kept adding more drugs. Well, I had another one. And yeah. And then I healed my thyroid. That was another thing. My thyroid went, and she put me on medications. And I'll never forget, she circled, 4 refills. I got the prescription. I'm like, how long am I supposed to be on this? And she's like, the rest of your life? I'm like, no. She's like, once your thyroid starts to go, you can't heal it. Until now. And I did heal my thyroid, which I was told you could not do. And there's a whole book on that. And I'm one of the case studies in the book. It's called Your Body in Balance. It's by Dr. Neil Barnard, he started the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, the Barnard Medical Center in Washington, D.C. He is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So if you're going to start this way, a couple of things I recommend, first of all, is to find a doctor who is going to, if your doctor is not going to be has no clue about this, find one that does. It's called plant-based telehealth. All of these doctors, I know almost all of them, they keep adding new ones. And I'm like, who's that? Where did that come from? I need to find their story. Plant-based telehealth is filled with all these doctors are all plant-based. They all understand what is going to happen to you, especially because once you start plant-based, your body, and I compare it to, think about this. When you've fallen and scraped your knee, you got that big road rash on your leg. While your body's healing, your leg, it's itchy, it's painful, but then eventually your skin heals and you heal. Okay. That's what's going to be happening to your body. You're going to have to heal your body from however many years that you've been eating the sad diet, right? Your body's going to take time to heal. And I've had people say to me when they first started this, I felt better when I ate crap, because your body is going to be detoxing. You're going to be getting rid of a lot of that 57 Chevy license plate you consumed at one point, that's coming out, and it's not going to be pleasant. And what does that look like? Well, some people could have pimples, some people could have rash, some people feel like you're coming down with a cold, like you feel achy and whatever. But that's just your body healing. So you need to know what that looks like. You need to know what's going to happen. So that's why I say, make sure you get a doctor who understands what's going to happen and the power, how quickly your body can heal. It's amazing how quickly it can heal once you start going down this path. So, but then again, most doctors have no clue about this. So, and I'm excited for this movie and I've seen it already. I got an inside preview, but it was so powerful to see these 6 people who had never really heard about a plant-based diet, had been on medications. And this one woman, I just felt so bad for her because she's like, I can't afford to be sick because I have to take care of everybody else. And, just to see the joy at the end of the movie when her blood work was so incredible. And she's like, I don't have to take this anymore. I don't have to inject myself. She's like, well, as long as you stay on plant-based. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is this going to be shown in Dennis King?
Yes.
Just one night, though.
Just one
Right.
night, yeah.
Just one night. And we're trying, it's going to be in May.
We
I'm
don't
not sure
have a
where.
date for it yet.
We haven't got a date yet. We're still talking to the person.
But you can, in the meantime, watch Plant Your Nation, the first movie. I found it on demand. You say Plant Your Nation.
Right? That's the first movie. and that is with Nelson Campbell, who's the son of T. Colin Campbell, from this guy who wrote the China study. That's his son, okay, who's doing this movie and this movie, okay. And Planned Peer Nation, at the end of it, they had they basically put out, we have to come together as people because we're not going to get it from the government. The government, I'm not even going to talk about it, but I'm not going there. But we have to take control ourselves. We do, and demand it, okay? So anyway, I just have to say that enough. That's right here. That's Lori Marvis right there, who's the medical doctor in the movie. She stayed with them for 10 days as they went through and learned about cooking and how to eat this way and lifestyle. And that's who was one of the founders of the plant-based telehealth. So anyway, so also the other piece, and I call this what I call the trifecta approach. You have to change what goes in. So food and drink, you have to change what goes on, okay? So that is personal care products, that anything you put on your skin, in 26 seconds, it's in your bloodstream. So personal care products, shampoo, toothpaste, anything along those lines, and also the environmental toxins you're being exposed to in your home. Like if you're using Bounce or dryer sheets, things like that. Laundry detergent that has chemicals, the fragrances, those are all causing huge issues and problems with us. We just don't realize it because it's not this easy cause and effect. You don't see it right away, So especially things like, have you guys heard about parabens? You've heard about them, but do you know what they do? Well, there's a chemical family. There's a chemical family called parabens. Like there's methylparaben, butylparaben, propylparaben. It's all family. It doesn't matter, they're all bad. Some are worse than others, but they're all bad, okay? So what happens is it's bioaccumulative, meaning that it's going to accumulate in your body. Now, parabens have been used in everything, in all personal care products. It's in everything. And so it's going to have, especially for women, it's going to have an impact somewhere on your reproductive system, okay? It could cause you to not ovulate, it cause your periods to be too heavy, cause you to not be able to get pregnant, ovarian cancer. Most commonly, though, it's expressed as breast cancer. So when you get breast cancer, the first line of defense is they give you what's called tamoxifen and chemotherapy. Tamoxifen is rendered useless in the presence of parabens, and they never tell you this. One of my clients that I had, she had just gone through chemotherapy. She got breast cancer, went through chemotherapy. It didn't work. She had a double mastectomy, and she came to me. And so I did a kitchen rescue at her house to start her on this. And so we were cleaning out the kitchen and whatever. I went up to her bathroom and I said, could you bring the trash can up here? Her counter was just covered with products. I'm like, you can't use this. This has got paraben. This one's got paraben. You can't use this. This has been one of my passions is the chemistry behind all these personal care products. I've been studying it for over 25 years. It is, to me, one of the biggest crimes that is allowed on this planet because they can there's no regulation. There's no regulation. Over in Europe, they got what's called the precautionary principle. But anyway, I digress. So if you're looking for products that are toxic free, I got you covered. So the company was started by a girl who was 15 years old. Just mind blowing. Anyway, I also do a webinar on this whole thing. And, if you want to sponsor it, it's free. Bring your friends together so I can educate them about these toxins because they're mind blowing. The National Health Association is promoting a whole food plant-based lifestyle since 1948. It's their 75th anniversary this year. So I'm excited for that. And actually, you can get a membership with the National Health Association. They have a membership for $35 a year. And with that, you get 4 magazines. It's called Health Science. There is absolutely no advertising in it at all. It's 100% whole food plant-based, SOS, salt, oil, sugar-free. They usually have a section of recipes every month, or quarterly. It comes out quarterly. But I just wanted to point out right here. That was me. I was on the cover. Got there, made it. That was the last magazine, actually, last fall. So anyway, they also have a lot of other benefits. They have lots of recipes and interviews. They started a podcast with Dr. Frank Sabatino. He's a walking encyclopedia. If you think I've blown you away today, Frank will. Frank leaves me in the dust behind him. He's just like, he's incredible. He's like so amazing. And of course, the annual conference, if you're interested in learning more about this, it's in June in Cleveland, and it is mind-blowing. So please do connect. I'm on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, I have Plant-Based Cape Cod. There's also the Green Nosh. That's another Facebook group called the Green Nosh of Cape Cod. That's Joanne. Joanne is my co-leader for the Plant Pure Pod. So join us on Facebook, Plant-Based Cape Cod, or the Green Nosh of Cape Cod. I'm also on Instagram or Twitter. You can do there. I'm also working with Dr., like I talked about earlier, Dr. Michelle Tollefson, and she is from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. She's on the board there. She's an OBGYN. Anyway, she's very big in lifestyle medicine. She's asked me to come and be a presenter at this Costa Rica lifestyle. Costa Rica is one of the blue zones where people routinely live to be over 100. Costa Rica is so far into environment in terms of how they sustainability. It's just amazing what they're doing down there, and I'm very excited to be asked to be a presenter at this program. So if you're interested in a whole immersion, oh my gosh, from food to all the pillars of lifestyle medicine, she's incredible. I do a lot of work with her. She's just absolutely amazing woman. Breast cancer survivor. I mean, just incredible. Anyway, okay, your turn. What questions do you have? Or did I blow you away too much?
That looks very interesting.
Yeah.
You didn't talk about the corporate wellness.
Right.
I mean, this is just a thought I had, is that it seems to me that hospitals aren't really into this.
You think?
Yeah. Well, my daughter is a cook at a hospital in Portland, and she's into it, Portland work. And I wondered if, I didn't really know what corporate wellness was. It seems to me like it would almost be a wedge, because companies, corporations pay for the way medicine is practiced.
Right. No, I do. I work with companies to help their employees get healthier, because if they have healthier employees, like my husband who was there, one of his peers, that he worked with, who was in mid-30s. Okay. Now my husband, like I said, he said never had a sick day, and he'd be there 10, 12, 14 hours a day working. These guys would leave half day. I don't feel good. I have to go home. Okay, we got a lot of work to do. I don't feel good. And one of them had his gallbladder, right? No, appendix, my bad. His appendix, right? And it was inflamed. And the doctor said, well, we've got to take it out. So they scheduled surgery for the next week. He didn't make it that long. That night, emergency, went into the emergency room. The doctor who took his appendix out said it was gangrene. He'd never seen it rot, an appendix rotted so bad. And they told him when they left the hospital, you have to go onto a low-fat diet. 2 weeks he lasted. That was it. And then Carl was like, oh my God, you've got a young child and a baby. Do you not want to see them grow up? I mean, like, dude. And he missed so many days. It's insane. It's incredible all the people that were coming on board that were working with him, that they'd be out sick all the time. And Carl never was out sick. Never.
To the point that, hospitals don't seem to be interested in this. Well, they're not. They're there to treat the illness, or
right.
operate on an existing problem. They're not there to help prevent it.
Right.
And I think it's in Forks Over Knives documentary, and I think it's T-Paul Campbell or Ethelson, one or the other, says that if everyone were to switch to this way of eating, chronic disease would be reduced like 80%. So much of it is avoidable. So, well, a lot of people would be out of jobs at that end of the spectrum. You know?
It's true. Some hospitals are getting on board. Like, for example, in New York City, the Montefiore Systems, Dr. Robert Osterville single-handedly has gotten his hospitals on board to offer plant-based options. Not only that, but in the rooms, they're offering on the television, on a channel, like several movies like Forks Over Knives, Game Changers. So he can go in and say, okay, I want you to order this to have to eat. Then I want you to watch this movie, you know, so he's got some tools to work with.
What's the name of him?
I'm sorry?
The doctor's name.
The doctor's name is Dr. Robert Ostfeld, Ostfeld. And he has single-handedly gotten all the hospitals in the Montefiore system in New York.
In New York, which is New York City? Or?
New York City, yeah. So, and it's happening. There are some hospitals that are on board with it, you know, not a lot. I mean, and I have to, for my job, because I teach remote, but we do have 2 in residencies, you know, I call it, it's in Minnesota and I have to go to the school there. I call it the land of mayonnaise. It's like, everything is just coated with mayonnaise or mayonnaise-like substances or sauces or whatever, creams. And it's just, I get sick every time I go there. There's not one restaurant I can eat, not one, because they've looked, because we wanted to go out to eat. I can't eat out. I can't, any place. It's insane. Anyway, what are the questions? I know you must have like a ton.
I think it's good to learn about this now. I wish I'd known years ago.
Right? And I have to learn how to let go, because like my daughter has vitiligo, which is a loss of pigment in her skin, and I know it's because of her diet. I know it, and what I did to her, and I didn't know better. Now I know, but I'm still.
Well, you know, I have 2 teenage girls. Yeah, one of them went vegan for a little bit. We watched Game Changers, a great movie to kind of get younger people interested, particularly. She went vegan the other night and stuck with it for a little bit. But,
I do recommend
it's hard to get them on board because they're just surrounded by temptation all the time, wherever they go.
And this is what will happen is your gut biome, because you're going to have to heal your gut biome. That's the first step in healing your body, is to heal your gut biome. That it's so much more important than we ever knew. You've got 5 pounds of bacteria that's down in your digestive system. And if they're not happy, guess who's not going to be happy? Okay. And when they are happy, your vibrant health is just going to be like you can leap tall buildings in a single bound. I mean, you feel great. I'm in no pain. I feel wonderful. I can move. I have my Fitbit. I have a Fitbit challenge, and I've not gotten up my steps. I usually try about 10,000 a day. We're in competition, so I'm behind. So anyway, but I look at my friends who are my age. My girlfriend, who is 3, and I consistently point this out to her, she's 3 days older than I am, and she's already had, I think, 3 or 4 strokes. She's had type 2 diabetes, and after the first stroke, I went over to her, and Forks Over Knives had just come out. I brought her the movie. I brought her the cookbook. I went shopping for her. I got her some pans to cook with, and I spent the weekend with her, taught her how to cook and how to live this way. And she did it for about 6 months. And she said she reversed her diabetes. She felt better than she had. She looked great. She was losing weight. And then she went out on her motorcycle riding with her, whatever. I don't even know what to call them. Anyway, thing. So went out with him. They went by this place called Blackie's, which is renowned for hot dogs. Mm-hmm. And that was it. She ate a hot dog and it spiraled her out of control. And it's not to say that you're not ever going to miss, or mess up on this lifestyle. It takes a lot of time over the years to learn how to find things that you like, to be able to substitute and things like that, to be able to handle this lifestyle. It just spiraled her out of control. And so instead of the next day getting back up, when you fall off a horse, you get back up and you get back on. She didn't. It just spiraled her out of control, and she won't. Yeah. So she has since had several more strokes. She's, her diabetes is back. She's had gout. She's had all kinds of other health issues. and she's constantly posting it on Facebook, and it's all I can do to not go, wake up. Sorry, everybody out there. Sorry. Anyway, you heard that. That woke you up. Anyway, it is frustrating. You know, you just, in my family, I'm the only person who's gone in my family. Out of 5 children, all of them are morbidly obese, all of them. They're all on sleep PAP machines. My sister's had cancer, you know, high blood pressure, and on and on and on. And they don't want to hear it. They don't. My brother was at the gas station and I was with him and he helped me. And I said, I'll fill your truck up, you know, to thank you for helping me, whatever. So he's filling it, and he's got all these, he's got a diesel truck and he's got all these chemicals he's pulling out and he's adding it to the and this does this and this does that. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I'm like, how did you learn this, you know, to what's going to run best on your diesel truck? And he's like, but you spend more time researching what goes into your truck.
Yes.
And then he just went, stop right there. Don't want to hear it. I'm like, why? Because like the youngest might have more information than the oldest. I don't know. Family dynamics are always fun. So I don't know. Do you have any other questions?
No, it's just interesting.